Let's bring in our guest for this hour while court is still on that lunch break. Criminal defense attorney Jessica Ledingham is with us. Jessica, when I'm listening back to the Albert testimony from last year, I'm remembering some of these points. The other neighbor that had been injured by Chloe in a dog bite fashion. Do you think that the defense needs to bring in as much as possible about Chloe, or leave it at the assumption that, hey, this witness is an expert and says that, yes, this was a dog bite, and let these jurors know that the Commonwealth should have brought in more information?
Oh, I absolutely believe that they should bring in as much evidence about Chloe as possible. Already, we have seen in this trial the defense ask other witnesses when everything was going on at 5:30 a.m. and everybody was going into the home. The dog didn't get alerted. The dog didn't get startled. That's very suspicious for an aggressive German Shepherd to not bark when people are barging into the home at 5:30 a.m. So I think the more about the dog, the better, especially because even the injuries are very inconsistent with getting hit by a car that we've seen so far with the expert testimony. So I really think they should bring in as much evidence.
You know, attorneys like to tell jurors not to leave their common sense at the door. And what you're bringing out is what they hope that these jurors will think about. Their own pet at home, their own dog, dogs that they know. Anytime there's commotion, there's police cars, would have been all those people just a few feet from the house, they expect that a dog would react in some way. Let's take a listen to what we've been hearing from Dr. Russell on the stand. She has given her opinion as to whether or not those injuries came from a dog. Take a listen.
All the materials that you had described and your experience that you had described, without stating it, were you able to come to any conclusions or opinions about the source and nature of the injuries that you see depicted on that exhibit?
Yes.
And what is your opinion and conclusion concerning those injuries?
Those wounds were inflicted as the result of a dog attack.
We know there's going to be a battle of the experts, Jessica, but how do you think she did? What will make her testimony stand out for these jurors?
To me, is huge. She is very conclusive about it. I think that another big part is that the other experts they didn't talk much about how, no, it can absolutely not be anything else other than the car hitting the arm. I think her determination that she knew this is what it was is really going to come across with the jurors. And as you just said, don't leave your common sense at the door. Everyone knows of a pet, of a dog that shows aggression, and a lot of people can see a dog bite like that happening.
So let's take a listen to something else, Jessica, because that's what's happening right now inside of the courtroom. They're on a lunch break in real time, but when they come back, more Dr. Russell on the stand, more talk about these dog bites. But before that, at the beginning of the day this morning, we heard about Michael Proctor. We kind of heard from him through his text messages. And the way the defense was able to bring this in was not with Michael Proctor himself, but they brought in someone else who was on the group chat, one of his childhood friends. Let's take a listen back to that testimony.
Could you read Mr. Proctor's two comments?
She waffled him.
One of the group asks further down, what does... Sir, if you could either speak much louder or bring the microphone closer. We have a couple fans back here. It's just difficult to hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's not your fault. If we can keep our voice up. Somebody in the group says, is that chick a smoke? And then the same person follows up with a question mark. Accurate?
Accurate.
Mr. Proctor responds, E-H.
Yes.
Nut bag, as my chief would say.
Yes.
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Yes.
Leaks poo.
Yes.
Are those the words of Mr. Proctor?
They are.
Did I read those accurately?
You did.
And this witness went on to say these were inappropriate comments that resulted in Michael Proctor being fired. But Jessica, take us through the legal look at this. They called, in terms of the prosecution, Yuri Buchanan to bring in the Michael Proctor text that would have been potentially problematic, and now the defense bringing in someone else to bring them in. How do you authenticate it? How, if someone is watching and saying, how can you bring in his text and he's not there in the room?
Well, they're on the group chat. They're reading it so they can authenticate this number is to Michael Proctor. And that's how they're able to authenticate it, because this was part of a conversation. So that's how they're able to get around. It seems like both the prosecution and defense are avoiding Michael Proctor. So they brought in whoever they could to verify it rather than Michael Proctor himself.
And do you think this is enough for the defense? Do they need to, we're assuming that since this witness has taken the stand, no Michael Proctor is going to be needed on the stand, but your thoughts, do you think they may save him to the end of their case?
I think you're right. I think right now they're trying to not call him into the stand, and that is why they used the childhood best friend to verify the text messages and read them into evidence. I do think that they may still call him depending on how they feel. If they feel like they've done enough, their case is solid, and they don't want to jeopardize it, they're not going to call Michael Proctor to the stand. However, if they feel like they need an extra boost, they're not seeing things land with the jury, they may call him. But obviously, with them bringing in the best friend, they're hedging towards not bringing him in at all.
Jessica, thank you for the analysis. We're going to get in a break because we are hearing that they are back gathering inside of the courtroom. We don't have video yet, so we will bring you that live coverage as soon as it begins there in Dedham, Massachusetts. Thanks for being with us. Lauren Daybell, doomsday cult mom, convicted killer, and now